This week in PlayStation, we're talking about if I can leave it all behind and just play Helldivers 2 full-time, Blessing's latest obsession, and your ideas for The Last of Us Part 3's plot. Are they any good? We'll decide. We'll cover all this and more because this is PSILY XOXO. What's up, everybody? Welcome to PSILY XOXO, your weekly PlayStation conversation. That's Blessing. I'm Greg, and if you love what we do, please support it with the kind of funny membership on Patreon or YouTube. Of course, there you can watch us record this show live each and every week. You could get it ad-free. You could get all the other shows ad-free. You could get every podcast we do in the afternoon live as we record it, and you get your daily dose of Gregway, my daily vlog series. You can get PSILY XOXO for free with ads and without the exclusive content on YouTube and podcast services around the globe each and every week. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Kieran Housekeeping.
That's how I've been saying it. Hova.
Like Hove.
Like Hova.
Yeah.
Like Jay-Z.
Yeah. That's what it's got to be, right?
Like human, yeah.
Yeah.
I made a joke this morning on KFG, so I can't make the same joke over again, but I'm going to make it anyway. Whereas, like, is that a human being that likes Jay-Z, a Hova sapien?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I assume it's playing off of Kojima, right? When he was doing like the Luda and Ludens and the Luda sapien.
What was it? Was it Luda sapien? Is that what it was?
Like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
We're born to play. We've evolved.
Maybe that's his last or their last name.
Kieran, I have no fucking belief in the history of the world that your name is
Hova sapien. That is not the most insane last name we've ever heard.
It isn't.
There's a man out there with the last name Goggins.
That's true.
It's true. That's accurate. But I think the fact that it's Hove, it's got to be a Jay-Z reference. Hova sapien. Get me Cool Greg in here. Greg!
I'm Googling Hova sapien right now to see if there's
a history of this last name.
There's a man that lives. Actually, I shouldn't dox this man. But I'm seeing multiple people with last name Hova sapien.
Kieran, I need you to write in and tell me if that's
Kieran's
accurate.
actual last name.
Fine, you get your ass over here. You get on microphone. Don't I wanted Cool Greg. I get the other one, the weak link. The disappointment brother.
What's that?
Kieran Hova sapien.
Yeah.
We're all Hova sapien. It's a Jay-Z reference in human being, right? He's put it together.
I hope so.
Homo sapien, Hova sapien. He put that together, and he's a big Jay-Z fan. It'd be like if I was a Ghostbuster sapien. You know what I mean?
But he puts it after his name, which makes me think that that's just his last name.
The problem is you can write anything you want to be a Patreon producer. I don't know. We just said crazier things.
If his thing was just that he was a human that liked Jay-Z,
go to Twitter.
Why would he include?
Go to Twitter
Kieran
and search Kieran Hova sapien.
Right.
See if this person pops up.
We all use our real names on Twitter.
I mean, you
Kieran,
should. You know what I mean? It drives me crazy when you don't.
Hova sapien.
I'll go to Patreon
I got nothing.
too.
I got nothing for Kieran Hova sapien. But like when I type in Hova sapien on Google, real people come up.
But they're all big Jay-Z fans.
No, I don't think anything like Jay-Z. They come up with their addresses and phone numbers. I don't know why Google keeps track of all this information. One of them lives in Boston, let me tell you.
Here it comes.
Yeah, why does it give people's addresses? That doesn't seem right.
I mean, that's how the internet is, man.
This is all out there like that?
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that that's how it used to be? Like, not in the internet, but like just we had big old books at our houses that had people's like addresses and phone numbers in them. The yellow
book.
pages?
The phone book.
The phone
yeah,
book, yeah.
There were the white pages were personal, and then the other ones, or the yellow pages were business.
I was talking to a friend recently about like how before GPS on phone, we were just out there driving, just going places. And it's like, how do you know where to go? And it's like, oh, you call them up and they're like, oh yeah, you go to the McDonald's, take a left here, and we're on the right side of the road. And it's like, I couldn't imagine doing
It's
that.
gone around with me a few times, the people with like, can you believe you used to have to print your directions off MapQuest with your home printer and then like drive like this, like you're fucking Magellan or something?
And every now and then I think about like, I'll be on the freeway, right, driving. And I'm like, if my phone died out of nowhere right now,
lost dead.
I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
I think I'll just pull over and cry. Like, I think I'll start having a breakdown, go in the back seat, get in fetal position and just give up.
I'm booting Discord, which always needs 15 fucking updates because we have Kieran's Discord name from his Patreon
really
profile. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. You know what I mean? Let's see. Add friend. Drop that in there. Send friend request. That character does not exist.
I don't think
Great.
did we
That's
even
great.
get to Delaney Twining?
No, we haven't yet. No, we're very much hung up here. Shout out to Delaney Twining, of course, everybody. Hold on, what if I did this then? If I re-engineer it, film. Oh.
I like how much you refuse to believe that this is the last name.
It's not that I refuse to believe. Now I need to know. Now I need to know if I'm right or if I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Is this just the biggest Jay-Z fan since Beyonce?
You think Beyonce listens to Jay-Z's music?
I think she's a big fan of him for sure. You don't think she listens to his music?
I don't think it's her taste.
Okay.
I think she'd probably be more of a fan of like Kendrick or like JID. I don't think she's listening to Jay-Z. Because this is that thing where it's like when I got hired at Kinda Funny, I stopped listening to Kinda Funny content because now it's like that'd be too much.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
Hear you guys talk during the day and then go home and hear you guys talk more.
Your romantic partners don't have to enjoy what you do.
There you
True.
go. Bear's not sitting in the kindergarten class.
But my thing there is like Barrett, your wife she isn't in this industry. You know what I mean? If your wife was producing stuff at IGN, right, then it'd be a different kind of. I just feel like, hey, music is what I do, and I love music, and I've married somebody who makes music. I still think you'd rock their music every so often.
I mean, every so often, every now and then.
I'm not saying it's like she's the biggest fan.
Yeah,
She's not going to change her name to Hova Sapien, just like our friend Kieran did.
I think you literally said the biggest fan since Beyonce.
And our last Patreon producer is Delaney Twining. Today we're brought to you by Shady Rays and BetterHelp, but let's start with a PSN message from me.
Whoa.
That's right. Usually you can write in, ladies and gentlemen, kindafunny.com/PSILY with your PlayStation messages for us to read here, debate here, talk about here. But I said, nah, not today. Nothing in the mailbag sparked my interest. So if you wrote in, shame on you. Well, with the exception of the question we'll read for a topic of the show that spawned an entire headline show. But outside of that, for a PSN message, nothing. So what I want to talk about is this blessing.
Yeah.
Can I just play Helldivers 2?
Yeah.
I reviewed Helldivers 2. I moved on to my WWE review. That's now posted at Gamescast. Please go check it out, everybody. And now, of course, a couple things there on my PlayStation bar that are embargoed that I could go and play. But I just can't stop. And what a fucking 30 hours it's been for Helldivers, all right? Point number one, a minor patch was dropped that added environmental challenges like fire tornadoes and meteor showers. Fuck yeah.
Fire tornadoes.
Fire tornadoes,
Okay.
meteor showers, a whole bunch of other ones too. Exciting enough, right? Yesterday I was like, oh man, I gotta boot this up, I gotta get back in there. Then today, the announcement was, of course, I'll read from VGC. Arrowhead Game Studios has announced Helldivers 2 latest Warbond, which is their battle passes. Warbond Cutting Edge will launch for the PlayStation 5 and PC on March 14th. That's 1 week from the date of us recording this right now. Quote, this unique anti-alien cache includes explosive weapons, prototype armor, capes, and player cards, emotes, and utility boosters for this month and beyond, according to the reveal trailer, which is viewable. Beyond. Right there, the Arc Blitzer looks freaking incredible. If that wasn't enough, we had seen the leak of these mechs out there. Were they leaked? Were they just there? What's happening there, right? Then finally, they put up the thing saying, hey, we're going to have mechs soon. It was a little propaganda poster. Incredible. Today, they tweet this, all right? They quote tweeted before their little propaganda poster, and they write, this is not a drill. Our factories are under attack, halting all output. Helldivers have been deployed to liberate Teen Quan. IGN goes further to report, a fresh in-game message signaling a new major order fleshes out the call to arms. It seems the automatons have captured the planet solely responsible for the manufacture of mechs. Parentheses, that was your first mistake, Super Earth. So Helldivers must immediately liberate it. The wording of the message suggests that if Helldivers 2 community fails the major order, the automatons will nab the exosuit tech and the release of mechs will be delayed. The major order expires in 70 hours from publication of this article. The early hours of Sunday, March 10th is when it'll expire. It is unclear if mechs will be released then or as soon as the planet hits 100% liberation status. But what is clear is that the Helldivers 2 community is answering the call. Already over 100,000 players are rising and fighting back against the automatons on Teen Quan.
Shout
That's
out to
awesome.
Joel, the dungeon master for the entire Helldivers 2 experience. That's cool.
That's amazing.
Really
this is
cool.
all amazing. This is my point of like, this is what I wanted out of a live service Helldivers. Not that there was always something new to buy and do whatever and like, okay, there's a daily change of get 100 headshots. It's the idea that it's, for me personally, the perfect pacing of like, all right, I got all the strategies unlocked that I'd want to get. I'm in the mid-20s, which is a good place for me. I don't feel like the carrot on the end of the stick is driving me to feel like I have to play Helldivers tonight. I have to play Helldivers tonight. I was ready to move on after WWE. But then to get here and have you, all right, well, randomly here are some environmental hazards happening, right? On top of that, the battle pass drops next week. It's got a cool gun. I'm going to want on it. And then on top of that, like, holy shit, no, right now you all need to go and work on this planet if you want mechs sooner. Like, what a brilliant idea to get me to come back and want to be in this world longer and longer and I guess sooner and sooner.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest aspect of this game. Whenever I hear people talk about Helldivers 2, because I've not had the chance to drop in as much as I would like to, right? Like I did the stream where we played it on youtube.com, so it's kind of funny games, but I've not been able to play it on my own or play it with friends or do whatever. And so I've been experiencing it from the outside looking in and seeing the thing where, yeah, the game master is controlling, like, and helping, usher through the story and going, hey, mechs are dropping. Oh, wait, you guys got to liberate this planet in order to do so. I think that kind of stuff is so cool. And that kind of stuff so far feels uniquely Helldivers 2 in a way that has me super fascinated and kind of brings me back to when we talked about it during the review, because I believe that was the one that I hosted where it was you and Mike talking about the game.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was asking about was like writing and story and stuff like that. And you guys were like, yeah, it's minimal, right? It's like not really that kind of game. I think this is making it that kind of game in a different way where it is, no, there is a story here, there's writing, but it's involved in sort of like this real life.
Meta.
It's very meta sort of way where it is, hey, we are role playing the roles of people that are in this Helldivers thing. And, I see you go on Twitter and like tweet out, oh man, I'm about to deploy. Who's with me? Right. And like Jen be like, oh, when is my husband to come back from war? Like,
we're all role playing. Yeah.
And I think that's a very special thing, right? Like being able to actually get people to buy into that. Because I feel like I've seen people try to do that before or seen games try to do that before, but it can oftentimes feel corny, or oftentimes it feels like, okay, well, you're the only one that's doing this, right? Like the audience is in participation with this. Here, it does feel like the audience is in participation, and that's because the game is so good, right? And you are, I think, doubling down on, hey, we are not, I guess, locking mechs behind this, but in a way, I guess you are locking mechs behind
and
this.
who knows what it is? Yeah,
like they're probably gonna release it anyway, right?
Course,
but like
we are working to it.
We're giving our audience a reason to show up for this thing and feel like they're having a part in the experience, and I think that's such a cool thing.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I think that's one of those things I hadn't anticipated, little things like this, right? Like I think so many other games, would wait for a giant story update, a giant expansion to make, okay, well, this is what it's going to be. Here, it was this weird thing of like, it was almost like in the playground when you're like, oh, well, my next door neighbor, his brother found this thing in the game. So you're seeing videos of these mechs being deployed. You're like, how are people getting these? There was no answer for it. Finally, after some speculation for like a few days, it was confirmed. Now they're like putting it into the narrative of how to get them and what's happening. You know what I mean? The fact that like it was just this tweet, now it's this article, now it's out there. There's a deadline on it. There's the major order.
Was the mech leak, was that on accident, or do you think that might have been like a plan?
I think it was definitely on purpose.
Yeah, because that feels like such a good planted thing.
100%.
Hey, if we give a couple of people, like if we show a few people the mech thing and it gets out online, and then start the rollout that way, that's a fucking cool thing.
And
to
that's
do.
a brilliant, and then it makes you excited just to in general to play, right? Of like, well, what's going to be the next little tease, or what's the next thing that's going to be really?
That's really awesome.
It's awesome, dude. I can't fucking wait to get it.
So are you just gonna play it for now on?
No, I'm gonna work on that one review and see if I like that game or whatever. But I will get back. Like tonight, this morning, overnight, got an email from my friend Sean who's like, when are we playing WWE, right? And I responded today and I was like, I'd like to say soon, but Sean, we're being called to the front. And I sent him this and it was the exclamation, right? And he goes, okay, same question then. Like, he's ready to hell dive. I'm ready to hell dive. See what it brings. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of diving into hell, Greg Way, let's move on to topic of the show.
I don't know. Every week now, it like disconnects. The Stream Deck disconnects.
There it is. Oh my goodness.
Now it found it. Jesus.
We are gonna do something very special here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna judge you. As you know, PS I Love You XOXO is your PlayStation conversation. This week, a young boy by the name of Guy wrote in. I have no idea how young or old Guy is. Guy wrote in and asked basically like, hey, here's my pitch for the Last of Us based on what's been happening with Neil Druckmann. And I was like, that's interesting. That could be PSN message. Me and Blessing had our meeting for the week. I pitched it to him. And he's like, well, what if we opened it up and we did like a Shark Tank? What if we had you, the PS I Love You audience, come to us with your ideas for The Last of Us Part 3 so we could judge them and say either yay or nay? And I said, that's a brilliant idea. How do we do it? And Roger and Blessing introduced me to Google Voice, and we opened up the kind of funny PS I Love You XOXO phone lines so you could write in with a 60-second pitch for The Last of Us Part 3. But Blessing,
Greg,
I feel like it wouldn't be fair to just jump to those people when, in fact, we do have Guy who wrote in. So we'll start with Guy. I'll read it, all right, and we can go from there. Because, again, I think this sets up why we're talking about this right now. Hey, everyone. After Neil Druckmann was the topic of 2 main stories the past couple of weeks, parentheses, that he now has the concept for Last of Us Part 3 and doesn't think he will be directing many more AAA games, I started to think of how important this third and likely last entry in the series will be. So I came up with a concept, and the more I think about it, the more I hope this is at least somewhat aligned with what Neil is thinking. Your first Shark Tank begins from Guy. The concept? Healing. The base plot? Abby and Lev end up finding the Fireflies and learn that they've continued the research on a possible cure, getting as far as being able to delay the spread of the infection from a few hours to a few days, parentheses, or weeks maybe. But the real cure or vaccine is still not something feasible. Somewhere in their journey, maybe just before they find the Fireflies, Lev gets infected. He is doing the treatment discovered, but is bound to die unless a cure is found. Now Abby goes away on a mission, maybe with Lev, maybe with someone else, to find Ellie and ask for help. Or, in other words, ask her to give her life to save Lev, parentheses, and humanity, question mark. This time, Ellie will have agency in deciding to give her life or not. She will have a chance to heal the world, heal herself, and heal her relationship with Abby. Parentheses, that hate is still a form of relationship to me. Thoughts?
Interesting. I do like the idea of Abby reaching out to Ellie. I think there's something fascinating there. The only thing is, I don't know if any amount of time is going to let that not end in some kind of well, fuck off. No, I still don't like you. I think the part of this I do like the most is Ellie being in that situation where she has the option again to be this savior of humanity, allowing people to find a career, even if it is sacrificing herself.
Sure.
I think that's a fascinating thing to explore of, okay, well, now it's in your hands. Are you willing to do this, given the option again? And the idea of doing that to save Lev, I think, is really cool too. But I just don't know how those pieces fit together in a way that's going to be believable for these characters.
I think for the end of Last of Us Part 2, by the way, of course, full spoilers for Last of Us Part 2 and Part 1 throughout this. At the end of Last of Us Part 2, I felt Ellie had given away the hate. She was over that in terms of Abby. Don't get me wrong, they're not going to go,
grab lunch.
Window shopping or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's I don't feel like. I think you could run into him, and obviously it'd still be fucking awkward as hell. Last time I saw you, I tried to kill you until I gave up at the last second. You know what I mean? That would still be an awkward introduction, but I don't know if it would be line in the sand. We got to fight here.
I would think it's on site. I think if I'm Abby or if I'm Ellie and I see the other person again, we see each other across the street, I think it is fuck you. I am not fucking with that person. I think the fact that they beat each other nearly to death, I think that's something you don't come away from. I think that's something where it is, we don't talk, we don't interact. And maybe that is the interesting thing. Maybe
they have this conversation.
Yeah, maybe that is the first scene together where it is, Abby realizes that Ellie is the only option. And it is Abby persevering through, I love Lev so much and we need this. And the only way we can get this is through Ellie. That this is my only option. It is Abby going to Ellie and Ellie being fuck you, fuck off. We're not talking. Why are you even here? You shouldn't even thought about doing this, right? And that maybe through the course of the game, maybe this takes 10 hours of build up and 10 hours of development to get through.
Yeah.
I do think that'd be fascinating.
100%.
But you would have to really convince me that Ellie's willing to.
It's also interesting, one of the things that Guy doesn't go through here is the amount of time that has passed between Part 2 and Part 3, right? Some of the calls that I screened ahead of time get really in the weeds as much as that would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets interesting of to wonder about Ellie being in a more of a where we meet Joel time period, and then having to meet an older Abby as well to then help out Lev or somebody else she cares about, right? Yeah. And have it seen through that we're seeing Abby or Ellie, at least as I picture it, way more as a Bill character. You know what I mean? Who's gone off on their own and kind of been left humanity, but then they see that Abby is hurting and still has this relationship that she can see, Ellie can see Joel and her in, kind of thing, and try to see if that would do it.
I could see that being very fascinating with time passing.
It's interesting, of course, that Guy says healing. So many people said redemption.
Okay.
So our first block of calls and pitches are going to be about redemption. Before then, I do have breaking news. Mm-hmm. While we were live, I emailed the one and only Kieran Hovasapien, all right? Mm-hmm. And I just the subject line is your last name a Jay-Z reference. Body of my email, thank you. Kieran responds, "Hi, Greg. No, my last name comes from my father's sides all the way from Armenia, although I was born in Australia. Now I'm supporting Kind of Funny all the way from Canberra, Australia. Thanks for all you do." So there you go, everybody. Kieran's
I love
never
that you
heard
had to
of
chase this
Jay-Z.
down. You couldn't believe that somebody's real name.
It's
was just
not
told
that
the
I
same
can't
to you.
believe it. I want the facts. I'm a journalist. I am a journalist.
But like his first name was before the second word.
Go through the
That
names on
usually means the
Patreon.
last
Go through
name.
the names on Patreon.
We got. Do you not think Twining is Delaney's last name,
Hey, man, I'm not here to
or
judge.
Jacobs is Carl's last name?
I'm not here to. Well, I definitely know that's not true. He's a big time celebrity. You know what I mean?
Oh, is that
Like,
the Carl Jacobs?
Yeah, it's the Carl
I just
Jacobs.
thought it was H. Carl.
No, it's the,
Carl
it's the
Jacobs.
Carl Jacobs. Like I said, I want to talk about redemption over in the live chat that you could, of course, be part of if you were on the one and only Kind of Funny membership plan, either on YouTube or Patreon. You can watch live as we record the show, and you could be part of the show. Madeline Stanley says, I really hope Roger deleted my voicemail and no one ever listened to it. Why don't we go to our first call from Madeline?
Hello, PS I Love You. This is Madeline, aka Mad Exposure. And since parts 1 and 2 were about revenge and that sort of thing, I think what would be really interesting narratively for all the characters is if part 3 was about redemption and Ellie finding a cure mayhaps, and also seeking forgiveness from Abby and from Dina and all the people she hurt along her way. I think a story of redemption after 2 very games. Ooh, I totally screwed up there. Okay, oh my gosh, now I feel very embarrassed. Anyway, I think a story about redemption would be the most interesting there. I don't know how that fits into gameplay. I think there's still obviously a lot of violence on the way to redemption, but it could be a really cool story to have it come full circle and have Ellie find a cure of some kind. Okay, bye.
Okay.
Madeline, you're making too. She's in the chat. I'm embarrassing. That's not embarrassing. You just said one thing wrong. You've heard me say all this stuff.
I didn't even catch where she slipped up.
She was like 2 very games. Like she didn't mean to say games. That was
Gotcha,
it.
gotcha.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
We make worse mistakes all the time.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I don't believe last names when I read them. You know what I mean? Like,
Sometimes Bless says Epina.
Yeah. I could have sworn one of us here says Epina. Do you say Epina or Epona?
That sounds like
Epona. I say Epona.
yeah. That sounds like
Because I
something
grew up
stupid
saying
Roger
Epona.
said.
Maybe water. Remember when Roger says water? He
And
still
then
says it to
he
this
thought
day.
Mario says Yipcha.
Remember when he tried to
That's a weird
skip?
kid.
Yipcha is the little guy from Star Wars.
There you go.
Yip.
Oh. I was gonna say something says Yipcha. I didn't know what it was.
Something said. Back to it. Bless.
Yeah.
I, of course, haven't thought much about The Last of Us Part 3, right? I'm a piggy. Put the food in the trough and I eat it. I don't think about what I'm making. You know what I mean? So like, it has been interesting, of course. Theme 1, game 1, love. Theme 2, game 2, hate. And then you do need to think of what 3 would be. Do you buy redemption?
Yeah, I do. So one thing I really like, right, is like the idea of reconciliation, just in general, not
Sure.
even like in fiction or whatever, just in life. Like when 2 people come together and they like forgive each other, or like when they grow from their mistakes, just things like that. I fucking love that. That's the thing that warms my heart, and I think Last of Us has a good, venue to explore that idea coming off of these 2 other things. So yeah, when you go from love to hate, to then circling back and around to how do you get from hate back to love, I think that could be a very powerful thing. I really like what Madeline's talking about in terms of Ellie going on that road of redemption, almost like doing like the apology tour. Post a YouTube video, her playing a ukulele, being like, "I'm sorry."
Oh, Jesus, God,
That's how it starts off. But then it is her, trying to seek forgiveness from Dina. Eventually working that way towards Abby. I'm still not convinced that Ellie is going to be at the point where she's ready to, like, especially for like reconciliation. I don't think that would start from Ellie.
I like the reconciliation angle. I like the redemption angle. I am very odd, I guess. I feel like there's not many. Classic Last of Us Part 1 take is when I called Joel the villain, and I lived with that for years and years and years before I was proven right. I think it's an interesting one of like, for me, for Abby and Ellie, I totally feel like it's all done. I feel like in the water, they wash themselves clean of each other. Like, I don't think that there might be like a jovial on this weird, we're forced together to work together thing. I'm like, by the way, sorry, I fucking almost killed you. Yeah, sorry, bit off your finger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. I don't think it's really either of them carrying an axe, because I think the power of Last of Us Part 2 is the ending, and I think they both realize where the other's coming from, even if they don't want to die, or they don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's that thing where Abby by the end understands why Joel killed her father, and why then Ellie, came out. And I think Ellie understands why Abby had to go on this revenge mission, because she's just done the same. You know what I mean? Like, there's this thing where they find this common ground.
See, my thing is, I found Ellie's when we get toward the end of it, right? For me, Ellie's circle around moment was more so her realizing that she's being consumed by the hate.
Sure.
And like I saw it as more of like an internal reflection as opposed to like I think she did get that from Abby, right? Like it is like okay, like you kind of understand why you did what you did, but I think Ellie's growth is more so how she viewed herself and what she was going through internally, as opposed to anything going on with Abby. Like I think that hate still resides for Abby, and I don't know if that hate is ever going to go away for Abby. And I guess that's part of what I'm fascinated with about the reconciliation thing, is that with reconciliation, the hate doesn't have to necessarily go away, right? Like you can apologize, you can forgive. That doesn't mean I'm going to forget what you did.
Sure.
Right? That doesn't mean I'm still not going
like
to
Miles.
What was it? Miles?
Like Miles.
Like
You know,
Miles.
Spider-Man 2
Oh
video
yeah, like
game.
the Spider-Man 2. God, I forgot about this word. But like that doesn't mean you necessarily don't like have to like fucking wash it all away.
Yeah,
I think that's a thing you can explore. But that would have to. I think you would have to bring it together with more than Ellie feeling bad and wanting to go back and find out.
You keep bringing it to reconciliation, and I think again they're talking about redemption. And I like the idea that I never thought of redemption. Number one, well, I thought of for Dina, right? Like when Ellie walks out of the house.
Yeah.
I have had that question of like, my interpretation is she's walking to the woods. She's starting a new life. She's not going back to Jackson. But obviously a lot of people wrote in, or called in, I should say, thinking about Jackson, thinking about Dina. I do think it's interesting for the redemption angle of Ellie being like, I fucked everything up my entire life. Not true, but that's how she's beating herself up, right?
Yeah.
And I missed this chance to do something with my life, and then to have the chance of a cure present itself and her do something with that again. And this is her chance to redeem.
Yeah.
On that note,
Take me somewhere. Oh,
I want to go
okay, go.
to Neil, who's in the redemption angle as well. If we can play that number 2, Barrett.
Hey folks, this is Neil, aka Thunderstruck. My Last of Us Part 3 pitch takes place 25 years after the events of Last of Us Part 2. Story begins in Mexico. We play as a character named Danny Reyes. He's 17 years old. Danny's younger sister Luna, who's 14, is being hunted by a group known as Los Muertos. A large group of Mexican survivors searching for Luna because they revere her as a goddess. Luna is discovered to not only be immune, but her blood reverses infection. While being hunted, the siblings come across a much older Ellie who's been isolated for decades from her loved ones, chasing leads around other immunity cases. With most leads being fruitless, she's desperately chasing hope. She feels responsible after the events of the last game, and she just wants to make the world a better place. I feel like it's a pretty cool concept because it mirrors the first game in a way, her going there and kind of being the new Joel in a way. And the goal is them traveling back from Mexico, trying to get back to the Fireflies in America, and maybe putting an end to the infected once and for all.
Okay.
I
So
like that one a lot.
I missed like one part. So like
Sure.
Luna and Danny, they meet Ellie somehow?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're on the run from the people who are chasing them
Yeah.
in Mexico or whatever because they think she's a god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Los Muertos.
And Ellie's like in this place where she still wants to find the cure, right?
Yeah.
So like, would it be the thing where Ellie's conflicted of like, because I imagine to get the cure from Luna, you're still going to need to kill Luna, right? To extract.
I mean, her blood apparently can reverse the effects.
Oh, it's the blood.
Yeah. That's why they think she's a god.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. There's an uptick there.
Interesting.
Mm.
I do like the idea. I think I like it more if it is like Luna has the same exact thing that Ellie does, where
Yeah.
Luna got bit and didn't turn, and that's why they think she's a god.
Mhm.
And then it is like a thing where somehow they run into Ellie, and it's revealed, right? Maybe Ellie sees the bite, or like vice versa, or something, and it is. Oh, and like they show each other, and it's like, yo, we're the same here, and like that. From there, I don't know where you take it from there in terms of getting to the cure, or if you are able to recreate that moment with Joel and Ellie, but it's now Ellie and Luna. To get there, you would have to probably kill Danny. Danny would have to die, and now Ellie is responsible for Luna. But I like a lot of the pieces here. I think there's a lot of good pieces here that are fascinating.
And that's the thing about it, where I like the idea of meeting an older Ellie. I like it not being anchored necessarily in Abby and Lev or whatever, because I like, obviously we fell in love with those characters in part 2, or at least I did. I know not everybody did. But I like the idea of it not being so, no offense, Barrett, Star Wars Skywalker saga, where everybody from the past has to keep coming back into the same picture. You know what I mean? But it is, there is the question of, like, I love the idea that Ellie is out there looking for other immune people, but I don't know what she'd be doing with that information. You know what I mean? Of like, once you find these people, then what do you do? How are you chasing these? There's plenty of ways to write around this, but then have them I guess she's looking for Luna, and Luna's just looking to get out, or also looking for her?
It would have to be like a rumor, right? Like it would be Ellie hearing like through the grapevine that there is this person who, if we're going with the blood angle, right, whose blood can maybe lead to a cure or whatever. And if you're going to take that and you're gonna, was this part of the redemption stuff, like the redemption?
I put this in the redemption category.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna take that all the way, it would be. Yeah, like Danny and Luna run into Ellie. They partner up with Ellie for like, I would say like the bulk of the game, or maybe even like the second half. Like this could be a second half thing of you run into Ellie and it's a big reveal and she's here, and you round out the game with her, and it is Ellie getting Luna to the place where they can reverse engineer her blood into a cure, and in doing that, Ellie like dies in the process. Like it is Ellie literally
sacrificing herself,
kind of fulfilling that thing from the first game in order to help find the cure for the world. I think that could be very powerful.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too. Like I feel like Neil's been, not vocal, but he is on the record somewhere talking about it, that it's really not about the cure, right? That's really not like, would that you want to do that with the world? Like, obviously anybody can change their mind, and a story can inspire you, and yada yada yada. I wonder though if that's something he's actually interested in chasing.
Yeah, it would definitely have to serve the story.
None offense. I want to loop back around to the kind of everybody needs to come back kind of thing. No, none offense taken by the Star Wars stuff, because
I know you loved when the Emperor came back, so I don't want to make
all too much. But I would disagree on if we're thinking about this as like a kind of part
trilogy.
1, part 2, part 3, just a trilogy, and you're introducing characters in your second act, I would expect to see those characters in a third act. If we're in Last of Us 10 and somehow, Lev's a full-grown adult now who's coming back to hang out with like a new generation of people, then I start to get that feeling. But I do think I would personally would like to see those characters, because if Neil is saying that he's got one more in him with Last of Us,
sure,
and he's got this one more story. I think if you think of the story as a whole, I think it would be weird to have these very pivotal characters from the second act not appear anywhere in the third act. So just my 2 cents.
My thought, my counter to it, and I don't think you're wrong, but it's just imagination, is I think that by removing them from it and they're doing their own thing, we're saying that this is Ellie's story throughout, that it has been about her, right? And being a kid and having her opportunity taken from her, ramifications and afterwards of that, and then, her own quest for revenge, and now being out in the wilderness, in the darkness, and trying to do something, right? Like what does she say, right, when she gets mad when Joel finally reveals the truth? Like, my life could have fucking mattered. Like, I think that's what's ringing in her ears, that she's done all this stuff, sacrificed all this stuff, whether it be her fingers or her relationships, right? And it is like, I have nothing to show for it, so I have to do something with this.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where the cure thing comes into for me, where I think the idea of the cure with zombie fiction, it can often feel like this is the end all be all, this is the answer or whatever, and I think that's the least interesting route to take with zombie fiction.
Yeah.
But if it is the thing of, this is Ellie, this is how Ellie makes her life matter, it's by, being somebody who is going after the cure, or like, her missing this opportunity the first time around and feeling that guilt and it weighing on her. I think that is then using that in service of like the themes that you're building with this character. And I would think Neil would probably be in favor of that if you go that route.
Okay. I want to move on to our final redemption theme, and it comes from Eli.
Eli here. My pitch for The Last of Us 3 is split across 2 timelines that are many years apart. The future timeline is set 25 or so years after TB2, in a lawless world where the virus has been cured and humanity struggles against itself to build once more. The present timeline is set about 2 years after TB2, and the cordyceps infection is raging crazier than ever, spawning new mutations. In the future timeline, you play as Dina's kiddo JJ. In the present timeline, you play as Ellie. The present timeline sees the return of the Fireflies, Lev, and Abby working with or defending our viral heroine, as revenge seekers come their way, and culminates in Ellie doing what she set out to do, sacrificing herself for the cure. In the future timeline, it culminates with JJ manning the first space mission in decades. Lastly, Joel is resurrected as a space ghost, but is now voiced by Pedro P. Take that, Troy.
I appreciate you rewriting Troy out of this and putting Pedro Pascal in his
That would be like,
ghost.
like the Metal Gear Solid 5 Part 2, where it was like, what the fuck?
It's a fascinating one. I think it's... for me, Eli, the jump of JJ doing a space mission is just too far. because you talk about 25 years later and there's a war between the humans that, it's lawless. Like, who's fucking funding a space program?
Yeah, nobody got time for a space program.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of, like, it would have to be a flashback. It would have to be a character we don't know, honestly. Like, 100-year flash forward of, like, like a space mission. And it is like,
Putting some plaque about Ellie, her putting her backpack out there.
Yeah, maybe it is like, Ellie's the one who saved humanity. And, like, we put, like, there's a flag that gets put on the moon and it has Ellie.
It's her fucking shirt. It's the little red shirt.
Yeah. It would have to be but at that point, it's almost too ridiculous.
It's way too saccharine, right? It's
Yeah.
too sweet. It's too nice of an ending, right? Like, I like because we already talked about it, I guess, in this redemption angle. I like the idea of Ellie getting the choice again, sacrificing herself for the greater good. And again, if this is the Last of Us, I like the idea of somehow getting all the way back to that moment, and it's like, cool, like, you're gonna have to die for this, and there's no guarantees it's gonna work. I don't care, do it. You know what I mean? And it's her going under, they put the mask on, they do the thing, right? And it's just they pan over to the monitor and it's beep, beep, and then it's just black and it's credits and it's, Sandoval playing the tune, right? Of like, maybe it worked, maybe it didn't, but she got to where she wanted to be again or whatever.
And then post credits, you fade in, you're on the moon.
JJ's on the moon.
Still baby. Just fucking swimming on the moon.
Still baby, just swimming in zero G.
I think I do, out of all these we've had so far, I think the pieces are there for redemption. Like, when I look at what's happened between Last of Us 1 and Last of Us 2, I think you have all of the pieces for a very interesting, what you could do with a really cool redemption arc.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated to see if they do it. I don't know if they do it, but yeah, like, you have Ellie having a thing that she desires. She wants to make her life matter. She is, like, in the lowest place possible, where, like, in a part 2 of a trilogy, I think this is kind of where you want to be, right? Like, Ellie has so much to fight for. She has so much growing to do. She has so much to, like, kind of get back as a character. And then you also have, like, a bunch of sinning that she has done, right? She has a bunch of people that she's fucked over. She has people that she's fucking, like, pissed off. I think she's in dire need of a redemption. And, like, it's the thing where I'm on both sides in terms of part 3, what you can do with the characters. Because if you did a Last of Us part 3 and it didn't even have Ellie, right? If it was just an Abby love story, I would be down for that. I think you could do something with that as well. But if this is a story that's going to focus in on Ellie in the third one, I think that has to have some level of redemption to it.
Okay. Let's leave the redemption block, move on to caller number 4, and an anonymous caller.
Hey, Greg and PS, I love you guys. I just wanted to say my pitch for The Last of Us Part 3. I just really wanted to say, hey, they shouldn't even make a Last of Us Part 3. They should make a new Jack and Daxter game. Thank you, bye.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
I'm gonna assume
I'm happy to be here, Greg Miller and the PS I love you guys.
I'm gonna assume you said that because it's your voice on the voicemail.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
It's fucked up.
get these hands.
Also, Janet out here paying people to call in.
Yeah, I know. Janet doing the thing, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, Jack and Daxter. I do not want a Naughty Dog Jack and Daxter. Thank you very much.
No?
I do.
What if it's a
Modern
second
day?
team?
Fuck yeah.
What's the what?
Like a second team within Naughty. What if the Last of Us Online team was like, all right, what next? All right, they're working on the new Last of Us.
They should be working on
Let's make
Uncharted.
Jack and Daxter.
They should go get an Uncharted. I don't need a Jack and Daxter from them. Thank you very much. Sorry, Janet. Don't worry about it.
I think it's time.
What's our number 5? It's another anonymous call.
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm on my AirPods. Look, they need to quit fucking playing. Okay? It's a fiction story. I need Ellie with some powers like Alex Mercer, I think his name was, from Prototype.
That's right.
I want snake arms flying out of her fucking shoulder links. I want her flying around and shit. We're gonna have to get into some funky, groovy, flying around fucking mushroom Ellie monster gameplay, yeah. I don't know if this is 60 seconds or not. I don't know what they're gonna do with that storyline, but that's gotta be what happens. You need to have powers.
All right.
You need to have fucking 6 powers. That'd be tight.
It would be
tight.
It would be tight. I respect that. Everybody's coming in with their storylines. This hip hop anonymous guy just wants to say, hey, Give her fucking powers. She's got the spores and stuff in her. Maybe the immunity, sure, she didn't turn into it. Now she can harness it, and she can fly, and she can have Alex Mercer prototype powers.
I like the idea of like you boot up the third game, and Ellie just has like an infected arm growing out of her, like a third arm, and they don't explain it, they don't reference it.
Yeah.
It just starts that way, and it's like, oh shit, okay, cool. This mutation is really getting to her. That's fucked up. I got nothing for that one.
I love the idea of just taking this game that's been lauded for its story and narrative and all this stuff, just throwing out the window.
What do you say about Alex Mercer?
Alex Mercer from Prototype. That was the main character in Prototype.
Oh, so he's saying that she should be like Alex Mercer?
Yeah, and like be able to fly around the city and have all these crazy ass powers and shit.
That'd be fucking awesome.
That'd be insane.
Like Neil Druckmann being like, yo, fuck it. I'm tired. Like, y'all didn't like The Last of Us 2 story. Y'all fucking abused us over it. We're going to just throw it out. We're going to make Spider-Man 4. Like, we're making our own superhero game.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a quick break from your call-ins. Of course, if you wanted to support us in PS I Love You XOXO and support this dream that is kind of funny, it's 11-person independent operation in San Francisco. It would mean the world to us if you went and got a Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Of course, with your Kind of Funny membership, you can get each and every episode of this show and all our shows ad-free. You can watch us record PS I Love You XOXO live as we do it alongside all the other afternoon podcasts. And of course, you can get my daily vlog series, Greg Way. But right now, you're not using your membership benefits, so here's a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays, an independent sunglasses brand that has over 300,000 five-star reviews. They are on a mission to match affordability with durability, making top-quality shades accessible to everyone. They have tons of styles and colors to pick from, so finding the perfect polarized shades is a breeze. Get ready for a whole new level of clarity with Shady Rays Pro Polarized Lenses. Here at Kinda Funny, we all love wearing our Shady Rays, whether it is Tim looking dope doing his Pokemon Go walks, or Joey just looking fantastic in her tangle-free shades. If your shades go MIA or take a hit, don't sweat it. They've got lost and broken protection, so you never have to worry. You're covered from day one. And if you don't love your shades, exchange or return them for free within 30 days. Exclusively for y'all, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code KF20 for $20 off each pair of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
This episode's brought to you by BetterHelp. Whether it's friends, partners, or coworkers, I am blessed to have many amazing relationships in my life. But a common misconception about relationships is that they have to be easy to be right. But sometimes the best ones happen when both people put in the work to make them great. Therapy can be a place to work through the challenges you face in all of your relationships, whether it's with friends, work, your significant other, or anyone else. Some of my best friends use BetterHelp and love how helpful it can be for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and it isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/kindafunny today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/kindafunny.
All right, Barrett, now we begin what I call the JJ segment. Can you start me with number 6, another Hip Hop Anonymous?
JJ segment.
So, at the end of the second game, Ellie has moved on from Joel, Abby, the Fireflies, and especially the vaccine. So she should look towards the future, which is trying to get back with Tina and JJ. JJ and Ellie should be playable characters. JJ should go on some kind of quest that helps other people, because he represents a light in this dark world. And Ellie should protect him on that quest because she needs to use her bloodthirst, not to get revenge for the past, but to protect her future. To complete her arc, she needs to fight for the living the way Joel and Abby did with Ellie and Lev, respectively. Thanks for giving me this chance. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
An interesting one. You know what I mean? I like a lot of people. This is where we got a lot of people called in about JJ.
Yeah.
They want stuff with JJ. We need some JJ stuff. And I wonder, if this would be the move, right? Of, again, let's time jump a bit. And then what is JJ's motivation for heading out? Why does he need Ellie? I like the idea that, like, he doesn't even know Ellie at this point, right? Like Dina maybe has passed away, but she always talked about this person in one of those like, if there's ever trouble, you have to find Ellie. That's
the pitch I gave. Whenever last time we talked about this, right? Like that's my pitch for it, where it is. Yeah, it is a JJ Ellie story. Ellie playing the Joel role, JJ playing the Ellie role here, and it is like Dina has talked up Ellie, right? It's like as an emergency contact, essentially, where it is Dina's like, hey, I don't fuck with this person, I don't like this person, but if anything goes wrong, go find her because she's the Terminator. And like that, like I think that's the way she paints it, right? And then something goes wrong, either Dina dies or like maybe people go after her or gets kidnapped. Something happens, and it is JJ going out seeking Ellie. I think a cool way to do it would be cold open. We're playing as this character. JJ? It's JJ, but they don't like he goes by John or some shit, right?
Like John J.
Yeah, like his name is John Jacob.
Jingle.
We're playing as John Jacob, and the whole game like
some guy stands up. He goes, "His name's my name too." There can only be one.
And the first act we're playing as this character who we don't know, we've not heard of, and it is like by the end of the first act, you open a door to like this person that you've been looking for, and Ellie answers the door, and you realize like, oh, okay, this is JJ. He's been looking for Ellie. They're going to go on.
I think you knew my mom, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's up, Barrett?
I love the idea that older Ellie is just gonna be like a Sarah Connor type. Like that feels very fitting for who she is in that world.
Yeah.
Do you think she still would be? Would she still be at the top of her game? Or are we gonna find a worn out, beat up, Ellie?
I would say like
still capable, but not in shape to that level.
How old was Joel in Last of Us 1? Like 50?
Something like that. Yeah.
See, I'm thinking like, how old are we? Because I'm putting JJ at 17. Or no, I'm putting him at Ellie age. So like, let's say 15. This is 14 years in the future, which would put Ellie, 19 plus 14? I'm thinking is the math.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's early 30s.
Early 30s. I think that's prime. I feel like it's a good age.
In the first game, Joel is 52. Part 2, he's 57.
She still has to be hardened because of like the infected and shit out there, Yeah. So I don't feel like she's gonna lose that just because she's lost her bloodlust for revenge.
Yeah. And I think the oldest she is in this game would be like mid 30s, just based on like JJ's age by the time you would go after her, right? And so mid 30s, you've been in the, I was gonna say pandemic. I guess technically, pandemic, but you're in the post-apocalypse.
You're just living in the woods. I feel like she's again built to some degree. Living in the woods, a bunch of crazy traps. We'll have a funny little reference to that with some of the, cans tied to strings she's got that are gonna blow up.
She's a fucked up, war-torn Terminator of a human being in her 30s who's also depressed. Yeah, I think that's those are all the makings of somebody who's going to be good in Last of Us 3 as a protagonist.
Let's stick with the JJ vibe and move on to Mike's call number 7.
Hi, my name is Mike, gamertag Restive, and this is my pitch for Last of Us 3. The opening sequence starts a few months after the last one with relationship with Dina and Ellie. During their argument, the Rattlers from the last game attack for revenge against Ellie. This results in the death of Dina and Ellie becoming JJ's guardian. But it also involves Ellie killing the murderer of Dina, so there's no need to go revenge there. We then have a time scale of about 15, 17 years to a mostly adult JJ who we are now controlling. His relationship with Ellie is strained. She's not a great parent, and they have a big fight where JJ ends up leaving the town to find the remnants of the Fireflies, who are a myth at this point. The game then swaps to controlling JJ as he tries to find the Fireflies, and Ellie as he tries to find JJ and bring him back. Eventually, JJ will find the Fireflies, and the members that he finds are Abby and Lem, who are now officers of the Fireflies. The drama ensues over Abby being the cause of the death of JJ's father, along with her past with Ellie, and Ellie interacting with Abby and Lem over the revenge over the last few years, over 15 years ago. The 15-year gap allows the infected to mutate more, become emaciated affected, or stuck to the walls, or whatever you can think of, along with interesting plot points of like the population of people who are alive pre-disaster are gone. I believe this will also, with this journey of Ellie, will also harken back to the first game, and the time gap will also harken back to Joel's time gap in the first game as well. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
I like people coming up with like mutation ideas.
Yeah,
new enemy types.
I also appreciate the idea here of, okay,
I like
Like,
the idea of JJ growing up with Ellie.
Yeah, that I do like.
And having like immediately after Last of Us 2, and then Ellie like someone them the Rattlers from Santa Barbara. Is that who they're? Yeah, like them. Yeah, like
the bikers,
Dina dying at their hands. Ellie immediately
it's one of those things.
revenge.
So it's like I'm not knocking it, obviously, Mike, but it's like I feel like the Rattlers coming after them. I feel like that's stuff we've seen, obviously, with Abby's group coming after Joel, and like not that would.
It would be a similar opening,
and so that's but here's my thing too. I think by no stretch of the imagination do I think it'd be the opening. I think it would be that like we would start in the future, the present, whatever, with Ellie and an older JJ, and it would be that thing where they're doing the flashbacks to show us what happened to Dina, how did they reunite, and where did this all go wrong?
Yeah, that'd be the smart way to do it.
I think they would do it that way rather than have it cold open. We pick back up because again, I think that's anticlimactic to Ellie walking off in the woods and then 7 years later we start the game and it's like she's walking over to Dina's. Like, okay, well.
I think the 15 years into the future and having a teenage at this point teenage JJ, like a JJ that's the age of Ellie in the first game, right? Yeah. I think I would miss out a bit on like that development of that character. Like if we're jumping into JJ being a little bit more grown and now Ellie's in her 30s, I guess at this point. I would want to know what's in between. Like I feel like I'm missing out a bit on like that character development between the two of them to see how that relationship strained. I think that's another thing you could do through flashbacks, but then at some point it is okay. We're doing a lot of things through flashbacks here.
The Last of Us way.
Yeah, I mean for sure.
It also rings a little, maybe a little close to God of War, 2018. Of like strained parent who they have a very thin relationship, and then you go on this quest.
Yeah,
I think the time jump would help you out there, though, right? Where it's like we're not on this. It's not like we're grieving in the moment like we were in God of War. We're just to the point where it's like you suck as a mom, and I was like, I was never supposed to be your mom.
Yeah,
I can't play the guitar.
The starting point would be slightly different, but I think the journey would be similar. Still very.
It would
still
be the same thing of strained parental relationship and like
being forced to go on a
journey, and then throughout the game they probably fix that strained relationship, or it gets worse. They fight each other to the death at the end of it.
Oh, geez, that's a fun way to end it. Let's move on to our last one in the JJ segment. I believe this is Sober TV. I had a hard time understanding the name.
Hi, I'm Sober TV, on which I'm going to try and make this as fast as possible. We start 20 years after The Last of Us 2. We're playing a man we've never seen. Eventually, we find out that this person works for an organization that formed out of the ashes of Fedra. He goes by some sort of code name, never revealing who he is to the world in game or us. They've been given a mission to go to the top secret bunker the U.S. had in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. New Fedra sends our character if they have knowledge of that area after having grown up near it, hoping that there will be more knowledge on how to potentially kill all cordyceps at this bunker. Not too long into the game, we step into a trap and find out we've been captured by a now-grown Lev, who is working for the Fireflies. Eventually, the two find out they're looking for the same place, but they both have something the other needs to get into the lab. They join together on EC lines. As the game goes on, you're fighting crazy mountain men, new variants of effective, and eventually new Fedra and Fireflies themselves, because in The Last of Us, there's no good or evil, just a lot of shades of gray. The two start to fall for each other and get closer, revealing their past, letting us play through flashbacks, so we can learn what happened to Abby and Lev and learn more about our new protag. The big twist we eventually get to is when both our characters are trapped by the mountain men late in the game and all looks lost. Someone comes in and clears out the whole camp. It's an older Ellie. She's come to bring home Dina's child. We've been playing as a grown JJ the whole time. Thanks, guys.
I like this a lot.
That's good.
Yeah, I really
good.
like this.
That's good.
I think the only thing is like, I don't feel like it connects strongly like thematically to Last of Us 1 and 2, right? Like if you're focusing on
redemption or whatever the theme is, whatever.
But yeah, I guess just like the connective thread. But removed from that, I think that's a cool idea. Like, I mean, this goes back to the thing where you start off playing as JJ, right? But you don't know that it's JJ. I like that it is JJ meets up with Lev. They start to become partners, right? And like I don't romantic slant or not, like I think even just forming a partnership with this person and like getting to know this person, I think that twist should happen like earlier. It would either have to be like end of first act or like maybe middle of the game.
Ellie showing up and revealing it?
Yeah, like the reveal that this is JJ. I don't want that to be the end because I want to see the aftermath of that. I think there's a lot of aftermath that could happen.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's the end. I mean, that's where the call ends. But I think I mean, we still don't. Do we get what we're getting out of the bunker and doing the thing? And there's like all this other stuff.
Yeah, because I think it's a little bit predictable. If you let it linger too long, it gets.
Yeah, I mean, that was my thing of like listening to the call, right? Like,
it's like I know where this is going.
Exactly. When you're like, it's a guy we don't know. I'm like, okay, well, it's gonna be JJ probably, right? And
I like that a lot, though.
I do like it. It's a very cool setup. Very cool setup. I like that one a lot, Sober TV. We move on to another block here. I call it the Tommy bundle. Let's start with number 9, Anonymous as well.
My pitch for The Last of Us Part 3 is Tommy's story, because this will allow us to get some more background between him and Joel and all of the bad deeds that they sort of talk about in the game. I think that the first 2 games is really about love in the way that it's expressed by different people and like what it means to them. And I think that we can see love and grief and everything sort of come to a culmination within Tommy as he self-destructs to get to Abby, which I think would conclude the entirety of the Joel story and Ellie story, because I can't imagine that the series end in a positive way, just because, as far as we know, Ellie was the last hope, and that just doesn't seem like that's going to go forward. So I can imagine it ends in a great way. So that's my quick pitch.
It was an interesting one because this, well, yeah, you want to play number 10 as well, Barrett. This is another Tommy in the bundle. I think this is GJX.
What's up, kind of funny best friend? This is your boy GJX Gaming. This is going to be very short and sweet. It's simple. We do a prequel showing exactly how Tommy and Joel are exactly the pieces of shit that we all know they were. They can cut back and forth between the prequel and current time of a 40-year-old Ellie with 3 fingers smoking Marlboro cigarettes and looking for revenge, still lonely and alone. That right there is the 3rd game. And by the way, I acknowledge the tribal chief. What Cody Rhodes story.
But yeah, I like the idea that we're just gonna like wrap it up in this fucking like negative, like we're gonna like dwell in like the darkness of it all, and like going to, as a flashback of, hey, let's paint out Tommy and Joel as like, let's elaborate on why the fuck like they're villains, why the fuck they're pieces of shit, and then use Ellie as sort of like the result of like, hey, this is where this came from. This is like kind of what this leads to, and it is like Ellie in the present time. I don't know what she's going through. I don't know what her story is.
Yeah, that's my thing for both of them. Of like the Tommy focus is not gonna happen, right? Part 3, I do think that this ends positively, and positively being like I was talking about of like the beep beep and her dying, and it's like, well, maybe it was good, maybe it wasn't, but she got what she wanted, kind of thing. Now, I don't think it'll be fucking, we're on the moon. we solved all the problems. But I feel like Tommy, going back to Tommy and Joel, would so much be better served by like a piece of like Left Behind DLC content, right? Where if they were just like, hey, it's gonna be a long time to Last of Us Part 3 or the next Naughty Dog thing, but we did this 2-hour experience where you get to go do this and it's some kind of look back. That makes sense, where it'd be such a left turn, and I don't think it would drive the trilogy forward in terms of what's happening with Ellie.
I think it's gonna be an episode in season 2 or 3.
Probably, yeah.
The Tommy and Joel flashback episode.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea. But yeah, I think Tommy is a character that I like how he fits into the puzzle of Last of Us, but he's never struck me as I want a whole thing centered around this character. Like I just don't think he sticks out as much as like a main role. We don't know enough about him, and maybe that's the point. Maybe you're trying to learn more about him, but I'm not really that fascinated with what Tommy's story is. I'm more interested. And
again, even for like Madeline Stanley there live in chat says, I don't need to know what they were up to be honest. Same, really. Where it's like I get it. Like they've referenced it enough. I've been on both sides of that. The way Joel flips and uses it and pops kneecaps and shit. It's like, okay, I get it. I get it that you guys were bad. I don't need to necessarily see that. And of course, Tommy's wife, being his salvation. Joel not having that until he finds Ellie, right? Final one. The 11th call, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than Sancho West.
Well. It doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter what the story is. My 60-second pitch here, kind of funny Shark Tank, is you need to add factions. Bring back factions. You think you're going to have a Last of Us 3 show on PS I Love You without me, Sancho West, telling you that factions is king?
Amen.
That factions deserves to be in that game?
Preach.
Add factions, no matter what.
He's spitting.
Thank you.
I love you, Sancho.
He's not wrong.
He's exactly right.
He's not wrong. Just make it fun. Make it be fun,
Just make it fun. Don't make it a live service. Just make it a fucking multiplayer mode,
Yeah.
Make it fun. Or, because they had the whole like roguelike mode that I always forget what it's called now. The survival. No.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah,
Last of Us 2 Survivors.
Last of Us, No Return.
No Return, thank you. Or like maybe add co-op to that, because I think that could be really neat. Like a roguelike co-op mode. If like PvP is too difficult or too much like resources or whatever, but I'll take either. Like, just give me a factions mode, because why? Why not? It's good. It's great. I'm with
Okay.
them.
Blessing, what did you think of the pitches?
I like these pitches. Yeah, these were even better than I expected.
If you had a green light one, what would you green light? You took copious notes, I see there.
If I had a green light one, shit. I think the one where you start off the game as JJ, you don't know, and then you meet up with Lev and you're doing this mission together, and then it's revealed that Lev is is JJ is Ellie's child. I think that'd be the most fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to I think the rest of the game you'd have to tie in thematically to like make it satisfying just as a trilogy. I think that's a rough place to start off as when you're not like following up on Ellie immediately or Abby immediately. But I think that concept is so fun and interesting and like allows you to build off of, all right, you have this partnership between JJ and Lev. You have Ellie who knows who Lev is and fucking hates Lev, right? And you have Lev who like knows who Ellie is and is like, yo, fuck you, you almost killed Abby, right? Like I think that has so much potential for interesting interaction. And so that's my pick.
I think I would go with Neil and the one from Mexico of Danny and his sister whose name escapes me at the time right now.
I wrote it down. Danny and I took a lot of notes because there's Luna, Danny and
Luna. Like I like that a lot. I like running into Ellie, and I think you could dovetail that to like the ending I pitched, right? Of like the beep 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 of like Ellie being like, no, I got to do this. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not you have a whole life ahead of you. I've wasted mine to some degree. I think I want to try to let me do.
See, I say we combine them both. I think we have both of these stories in one game.
Which one?
Like the one.
Oh,
like
your JJ
mine,
one?
Where you start off with JJ and then it turns into like.
Can
Ellie.
JJ's grandson be on the moon?
Yeah. Oh yeah. As a baby, just fucking flying on the moon in space. Flag. That's a diaper.
Blessing. Tell me about this week in PlayStation.
Yeah, we're gonna hop into PlayStation picks. The drop looks like this. Picks. This week we're getting WWE 2K24. We got As Dusk Falls, and we got Unicorn Overlord. Greg, what'd you pick to play on PlayStation?
Well, as I said, I'm still obsessed with WWE 2K24. The Gamescasters review is up. Haven't been able to tear myself away the past 2 nights with it. Getting in there, Olive Party, Kind of Funny Best Friend made a great Greg Miller on it. So I was running story mode with him last night. I love my faction. It's got a roguelike thing.
I know Roger was telling me about it. I'm like, fuck, I gotta play it now.
Yeah, it's a really interesting take on it because my faction I thought was cool before, but it could be really like, all right, I'm just doing the same thing over again. This choosing your own path, these augmentations, put these people in the team you've assembled. It's a really cool idea of how they've done it. And then As Dusk Falls, we did a stream yesterday, not sponsored. We just love Carolyn and Interior Night, the developer, and we love As Dusk Falls. Happy to report it's still great on PlayStation. If you missed it before, you and I both played it. We loved it back in the day on Xbox, so it's cool that it's here.
Yeah. As far as what I've been playing, I beat Penny's Big Breakaway. I was actually playing it on PC, but it is on PlayStation. Really, really enjoy that game. It is, if you're somebody who really, really loves 3D Mario or you love 3D Sonic, and especially if you love both, I think Penny's Big Breakaway takes a lot of good influence from both those things and brings them together to make something that has a lot of charm, something that feels pretty good to play, but also something that you're going to have to like take a second to kind of get into in terms of how it feels to control. It took me a little bit for it to grow on me, but once it did, I really enjoyed the idea of moving around the levels like I did with Mario Odyssey, where Mario Odyssey, like with Cappy, throw Cappy, dive at Cappy, bounce off the cap, dive again, right? Like you could do really crazy things with the movement of it. Penny's Big Breakaway kind of goes for a similar thing, but then it also has this momentum kind of feel that it wants to go for that is similar to Sonic, where it is, if you press R2, that allows you to do essentially like your spin dash charge like you do in Sonic, but you're like riding on like your yo-yo and like you charge up your yo-yo, you go, and there's like a lot of ramps, there's a lot of stuff where it is like, all right, this is an area, this is a section that you're just gonna fucking blast through with speed. I really, really dig that stuff, let alone like I think a lot of fun stuff it does with its level design. It has like these little side quests where you'll run into a little guy and he's like, oh, I gotta deliver this cake to my buddy, and you like you gotta take the cake and then get it like pretty much like a few yards down the level without ruining the cake or getting hit and losing it. Really fun stuff with that. And then like it's such like a colorful, bright, charming experience. And so shout out to Penny's Big Breakaway. If that sounds up your alley, I would highly recommend it. Of course, I've been playing Tekken 8. It's similar to you with Helldivers 2, where you're like, man, I just want to play this. That's how I'm with Tekken 8. Like I just want to play Tekken 8. I have been playing Tekken 8. It's yesterday I got home and I pull up my phone. I start scrolling through Twitter and I saw somebody tweeted like a video of them playing Tekken, and I got
I could beat the shit out of this guy.
I got happy just for the idea of like, oh, if I wanted, I could play Tekken right now. And like that alone, like was enough to shoot endorphins.
I
was like, dude, I could just play Tekken right now. What a blessed time to be in that I can play Tekken 8. That's how much I'm enjoying this game. I keep referencing this top 100 stream that I did, but like I did a stream where I was like ranking all my favorite games. I was doing like my top 100 list and updating it, and I put Tekken 8 on there, and it's like the highest ranked fighting game that I have aside from Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Okay.
Like Smash Brothers Ultimate is like number 12 or something on my list, and then Tekken 8 is like 30 something. It might be like 38 or something. But you know, that's for me higher than Street Fighter 6, higher than Soul Calibur 2, higher than a lot of my other favorite fighting games.
Okay.
And I think I'm at the point where Tekken 8 is probably my favorite like hardcore / standard fighting game, you know, not counting Smash.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's incredible. You know, I am, you know, the higher I get in rank, the more I am learning and the more I am like seeing all the depth to it and trying to adapt to like how other people are playing. And it is so fun, the movement, trying to like fake people out by doing different things, and the moments where you don't know how a match is going to end, and like you are trying to figure out like how to get that last bit of damage on an opponent, and they're trying to figure out how to get that last hit on you, and it is like, all right, I'm gonna go for a down, fuck, they blocked it, cool, I blocked this, and like you're going back and forth. Such a satisfying thing, and I've been having such a good time with it.
Hell yeah.
So of course still been playing a lot of it. And then the last one I have here is a PSP, which I haven't done in a while. It stands for Port This Software to PlayStation is what I'm rolling.
Why even put the T in there? Port software to PlayStation.
Port software.
But
that's still
yeah.
Port
There's a T in there then too. Yeah.
Port software PlayStation.
Please support PlayStation.
Oh, I like that. Sheeran the Wanderer, the mystery of Serpent Coil Island.
Sure.
I hit you up a few days ago and I was like, can I get a code for this? And you came back to me with a code and I started playing it. I reached out because I saw a tweet from Sam Barlow, who's a developer of Immortality and Her Story.
Yep.
And he was talking about like, why is anybody talking about this game? Like, it's incredibly designed, all this stuff. And I saw that, looked up some reviews, and was like, I really want to play this game. It's a mystery dungeon game, which I don't know if you recall like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or like any of those things, but
never played it, but I vaguely.
This is like the franchise where those games have their lineage in. You know, like these were games that were on the Super Nintendo and stuff. The newest one just came out about a week or so ago. I should mention that this game isn't on PlayStation, right? Like it is a Nintendo Switch game only. It's only on that platform.
Okay.
But I've been playing it, and I really want this game to come to PlayStation and other platforms. I don't know if it's like a partnership with Nintendo or like what the deal with that is. It's published by not Nexon. No, it's I have it and I lost it. I'll remember it later. But you know, it is basically this roguelite franchise that is tile based, and it's very nerdy and very hardcore.
Spike Chunsoft.
Thank you, Spike Chunsoft, and they do like I think a lot of like JRPGs and stuff like that.
Shout out to Fire Pro Wrestling, they do that too.
There you go. But yeah, like it is when you boot it up, it looks like a PS2 game that has like the art style of a PS1 game, right? Like the best comparison I can make is Brave Fency Musashi. But once you get into it, it has a level of depth that is very both daunting, but then also alluring. Like I'm like I need to like get to the bottom of this shit because it is you moving a tile at a time. When you move, that's when the world moves, right? That's when the enemies move. And it is you taking like one turn at a time and trying to clear out floors of enemies and then work your way up through the dungeon. And so I believe in Serpent Coil Island there's like 30 floors for you to work your way through. And you're going a floor at a time. It reminds me of doing like the dungeons in Persona 4 or Persona 3. But the thing is, there's just so many variables that are happening, right? Like it is, okay, I have this fucking scroll that I can open up and read, and if I read it, it confuses all the enemies, so they like go in different directions. But like, you know, this enemy only travels this way, but this enemy only travels this way, and it's you trying to like do all the calculations to keep getting further and then also upgrade at the same time. I did like a 2-hour run of it, and by the time I finished the run, I lost by floor 10, I want to say. And I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. Like, I got to go back and play more of this. And so,
please support PlayStation.
Please support PlayStation 5. And yeah, I want to see this game come to more places. Or if you have a Switch, you can check it out on Switch.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been your episode of PS I Love You XOXO, your weekly PlayStation conversation. Thank you for joining us. Remember, if you love what we do, support us with that Kind of Funny membership. If you get the Kind of Funny membership, you can watch us record the show live a whole day before anybody else sees it. You'd get it ad-free. And of course, you'd get my daily video series, Greg Way. No bucks tossed our way, no big deal. YouTube.com/kindoffunnygames and podcast services around the globe each and every week. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.